Hi everyone, thank you very much for watching this video. I think there are two types of people who may benefit from watching this video. The first are people who already know that they want to buy my Side Sleeping Pro system. Uh, if you don't know what that is, it's a pillow system I've created to help you sleep on your side. When you sleep on your side, you can get some benefits from that, like reduced snoring, or if you have positional sleep apnea, you breathe better when you sleep on your side or in the recovery position, which is what I discussed in the other videos. And when you breathe better, you wake up less tired, more refreshed in the morning. And that's the point of this pillow, to help you sleep comfortably on your side without all the pains and niggles and aches that you can get. So some people out there already know that they want one of these things, but they can't get it either because I don't deliver to their country or it's too expensive, all those other things. The second type of person who I think might be interested in this video are those who sort of know that they snore less when they sleep on their side. They know that they have, say, positional sleep apnea, meaning that their sleep apnea is worse lying on their back. They snore more, they stop their breathing more when they lie on their back, compared to when they sleep on their side. But they're not sure whether or not this will be comfortable for them. They're not sure whether this will work for them or not. And they just want to try it out before they spend some money on it. So my way of getting around this is to teach you how to make one of these things at home. And so what I'll do is take you through roughly how to make it. So you can try it out at home, or you can use one of your own at home, so you don't have to buy one of these, which are quite expensive, particularly in terms of delivery to New Zealand and places like that. And there are things I'm trying to do to make that cheaper in the future. But if you need one right now, this is how to do it. The first thing you need is a chunk of memory foam. Now, you need quite a lot. You need about 1.5 meters in length, at least 60 centimeters in width, and 25 centimeters in height. It's quite a lot. In terms of composition, it needs to be medium rather than firm or very soft. If it's too soft, it doesn't really support you, and you just collapse on it. And actually, it sort of envelops around you, so you end up sleeping quite hot in it. So don't get the really soft ones, the ones with elastane and things like that in it. Probably stick to one with lots of recoil, lots of breathability as well. If you go too hard, it sort of twists your back and you don't feel able to get comfortable in it at all. So it needs to be medium. Now, I am being slightly vague about all of this, mostly because the lawyers that have been involved in this project have said to me once they saw my last video, "What are you doing? You can't tell everyone about how to make this." But I am going to have to be a little bit vague about it. So go for a medium memory foam, and it might be a little bit of potluck. So just remember that there are two parts to the Side Sleeping Pro. The body part, which is about 1 meter in length, again, 60 centimeters roughly in width. That's not that big a deal. You can increase or decrease that depending on your own body size. But most importantly, at this top end of this isosceles triangle, this bit here is about 25 centimeters in height. Now, if you've got a very soft memory foam, you may need a lot more because it sort of collapses under your weight. If it's very firm, that might seem a bit too much. But 25 centimeters, I worked out, was roughly the right amount to support people who are up to about 140 kilos. And it goes down to about 45 kilos or so. So it's just about right in that situation. And if you're at home with one of these things and you're making this isosceles triangle, the way to do it is using a hobby knife or something like that. But I found that a bread knife was best. And I'll put a picture of a bread knife here off Amazon. And a bread knife, because it's long and it's just quicker doing it that way. I would make this triangle going right down here to can't show it, I'll maybe show some pictures here. It's just not, the camera angle's not big enough to capture it all. But it's basically a triangle going down to the bottom. Don't have a step like that, because there are pillows out there that are just in the top half of your body. So you end up sleeping a bit like this. That I found doesn't work very well because your back ends up being twisted. And after a week or so, you just can't use it anymore. You can't have a situation where you're sleeping on your side like this because your back isn't designed to sleep like that. So you do need something that is a gentle incline all the way down, and try and make the tip of this memory foam go down to below your knees, or at least keep it comfortable for you so you can sleep at an angle like that rather than you sleeping like that. I've tried it out, just trust me, it needs to be quite long, which is why this thing is so big. And it might be a good idea to try and round off these edges. It's really important to round off this, I think, because if you're sleeping in the Superman position where you're sort of sleeping with your arm around it, if there are sharp edges to this body thing, it seems to compress blood vessels and nerves and things like that. And it's just not very comfortable to sleep on. I mean, you can whittle it down with your bread knife as much as you like. Now that you've got memory foam, you've got the power to design it yourself. So you could do what I did, which is just memory foam all over the place. When just a little tip, if you're at home doing it, don't do it on carpet. It's really hard to get the memory foam out of your carpet. Try and do it on a wooden floor or in the garage or something like that. Because it's just bits end up going everywhere, little flakes of memory foam everywhere, and you just worry that it's going to end up in some kid's throat or something. So keep it clean and try and avoid little flakes of this stuff everywhere. So now that you've made that sort of like wedge part that you sleep on and on an incline, you need to do the head part. Bring that there. And I think you might have heard that there was this letterbox in the middle. Weirdly, most people's heads are roughly the same distance between your chin and your forehead, which is roughly about 15 centimeters, which is this distance here. Remember, all the sleeping pressure should be on your forehead. So this area here is what you're putting your forehead on. And this bit, if you're sleeping in a recovery position, it should be a bit lower. So although I've got it at the same angle, you'll see that actually there's a little bit of scalloping here, and you'll see it if you get one of these yourself, you see there's a bit of scalloping like that. So it's sort of, when you're sleeping on it, you sort of naturally roll into it like that, rather than encouraging you to sleep on your back. I want you to encourage you to sleep on your side or in the recovery position. So this bit here is far more important, the bit that you put your head on. This bit here is not so important because I want you to sleep in a recovery position. I don't want there to be any pressure on your neck. It's, again, roughly about 60 centimeters across, 40 centimeters this way. And interestingly, it's 20 centimeters this way. And you can remember that it's 25 centimeters for the body part and then slightly lower for the head part. That's mostly because when you're lying on, your body's much heavier than your head. And so the body part will shrink down more because there's more pressure on it, there's more weight on it. And it sort of ends up meeting this. But also, I don't want any pressure on the front of the neck. When you're sleeping mostly on your front, that's what we're trying to do, the recovery position. You don't want to be, a bit of pressure on your neck. That's why these neck support pillows don't allow you to sleep in the recovery position. Then I want you to sleep in a recovery position. Your tongue rolls forward like this, but I don't want any pressure on your neck because it's just not comfortable. You end up rolling onto your back again. So there shouldn't be any pressure here at all, but it is nice to have some sort of feeling of something there. It's a bit weird. So just the edge of feeling something there would be perfect. And I've made this the same height, but with your bread knife, you can cut it down yourself if you really need to. In my videos before, I ended up sleeping with pushing this down with my shoulder if you felt that there was pressure on the front of your neck. Actually, when I tried it out on people, they said that actually this is fine, and using the shoulder if you really need to does help. So you can play around with it with your own little designs at home. It needs to be quite deep, remember, because when your face is in this, because remember your chin has to go in this bit here, and the pressure has to be here. So the support of your head is here. This needs to be quite deep because if your face is into the mattress, you'll feel claustrophobic. You end up sort of your face being twisted like this, and you feel like you're a bit claustrophobic down this hole. If it's a big hole, it doesn't feel like you're sort of suffocating in there. So it needs to be quite wide. So you're like this. It needs to be high enough, 15 centimeters or so your ear doesn't get pressed on this area here. So you end up going like that. I hope that makes sense. It's the most important rounding off bit is, I think, this bit here, because you don't want it to be like a sharp edge at that point there, because you really feel it on your neck. Here, it's not so important. It's this one here that's more important. The other thing to think about is putting a cover on this thing as well. So I would get a bed sheet, like a double bed sheet, and wrap it round to make a sausage, and then close off the end to make it like a pocket or something like that. So you'll need to stitch this up, and it's quite easy with the body part. You just push it in. It's not going to look particularly elegant, but it doesn't really matter as long as you can push something in there, and then you can take it off again later to clean it. And if you've got some real skills, you can do the curves and things like that. It's a little bit harder at the head end here because you've got this depression in the middle. So I'd make a very, very loose fitting pillowcase around it. And you can look at any pillowcase, but have one end with loads of sort of fabric here, because you don't want the pillowcase to go over and get rid of your letterbox bit here. So have lots of slack in the pillowcase. And then at the bottom here, just put little buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, to keep that hole in the middle. If you can't stitch it in there, because then you have to keep unstitching it to clean it every week or something. So using buttons is quite useful. So you might need to purchase some buttons and learn how to sew, basically. It's not hard, honestly, it doesn't take long. And if you're just trying it out, well, why not? Actually, good point. I should mention that if you're using memory foam, try and make sure, particularly if you want to use it long term, that it's safe to use. They aren't using weird chemicals, off-gassing, all those sorts of things. I'll put my washing instructions there because there's a certificate at the bottom. Some of the memory foams that you can buy off Amazon and things like that will have a thing that says, look, no toxic chemicals were used in the production of this memory foam. So just be a little bit careful of that. If you're just trying it out, I'm sure it's going to be fine. They're not going to release things that are bad for you, but sometimes the smell is a bit off-putting with those chemicals in there, and it takes a bit of time for that stuff to come out. Sorry, a bit of a sideline there. So once you've covered it up with a sheet of cotton or whatever you want to use, whatever you're not allergic to, for example, then put those buttons in, and it should be useful from that point onwards. And since you've got a bread knife at home, you can whittle it down and change the design, etc. If you have a very soft bit of memory foam, you've accidentally bought it a bit too soft, you might need a midline strut here to stop it from splaying open like this, and your head just falling into it. It's much easier, obviously, to go, I haven't taken away enough, I'll do some more now. Whereas if you cut out too much, you can't actually sort of stick it back on again. It just doesn't work. I've tried it, honestly, or tried to even stitch it or glue it on. It doesn't work. So just be conservative and go, actually, that's not right. But you can leave a midline strut sometimes, which helps maintain this strength, this direction. Play around with it. And I think it's important to play around with it because my design, although I think it's great, may not work for everyone. And you might go out there and go, actually, I found a better design for me. If you think you found something that works for you and you want to share it with everyone, let me know. I'll credit you with the design and I will make it for other people out there. If lots of people say, wow, that design by Chris or John or Rahul or whatever is really cool. I wish I could have that one. And if enough people want it, I'll make it for people because I've got loads of designs, stuff that I've not used with the midline strut and the spine and the cusps. And there is another company that's making a far more advanced one of these in the future. And that's still in prototype design. But I figured keeping it nice and simple in my first design would be useful for people because it works on the vast majority of people. It's not so complicated. I worried that if it was too complicated, people out there would go, wow, yeah, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It's too mad. It's too wacky. I already think this is too wacky for most people. But I've made, the other company that I'm using, which if you've been on my newsletter, you would have heard about. This company's got, the bells and whistles. That's going to be a couple of years in the future, I think, before that gets released. Because I want people to get used to using something like this because I know it works. I've tried it out on people and I almost have to teach them how to use it, which is why I'm making so many silly videos about this, because it takes a bit of time to get used to something new and understand how to use it. I think a lot of people just use it as like, oh, yeah, it doesn't hurt my ear. But I want people to put their mouth into it, close their mouth with the chin in here like this rather than just like that. And it takes time to get used to how to know how to use this thing. And so there will be a learning curve with this. And once you use it and you realize that you have to get your shoulder right into it, all those sorts of things, it becomes really, really comfortable with a little bit of help. And I will try and give that to you in these videos. Now, for all the people who've actually bought one of these pillows already, I think by the time this video is released, it's probably made its way around Singapore, going across the Andaman Sea, maybe just skirting along the bottom of the Bay of Bengal, going into the Indian Ocean towards the Gulf. Now, I can't tell you exactly where it is because I'm not sure when this video is going to be released, because I'm just going to release this video close to the point where I'm going to stop the pre-orders for the first batch. I'm pretty much coming to the end of the number of pillows I can sell at this point, and I've ordered some more pillows. Hopefully they will come through maybe November sometime. I'm not entirely sure at the moment how long it'll take to manufacture those. So the next batch will come through ever so slightly more expensive, because I promised the people in the first 500 that it will be the cheapest you can possibly get at that point, because they had faith to go ahead straight away. The next batch will be ever so slightly more expensive. And until the point where I've got enough stock in the warehouse that I don't have to keep getting batches and to keep only taking pre-orders, I think that's what I'm going to have to do for the meantime. Anyway, I hope that was useful for you out there, and I hope that this helps people out there. I think, you know, the lawyer thing where they said, why are you giving away all your secrets and stuff? Why am I keeping secrets from my patients is what I'm thinking in my head. This is meant to be helping people. And I know it doesn't make any business sense at all. But But for those people who can't afford it or are in the country where I'm not delivering it to, what harm is it going to do to sort of give you some vague instructions of how to make it? Um, anyway, I hope it helps people out there, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Do take care. Bye-bye.